Hello, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. Really great to be with you this week. And this week we have Michael Bankole Joseph from Nigeria. And you can see up there, we have a full lineup of amazing people coming up in the next couple of weeks. And before we get I'm going to call him Banky this time because before we were chatting, Bankole is his name. Michael is sometimes what they call him. So we'll say Banky. Before he comes up on stage, I do have a few comments from some community members that I want to share. And the first one comes from Gerard, and he just says, Michael is an enthusiastic, energetic, and positive person. And one of his superpowers is storytelling with a warm tone of voice. He developed his personal style to learn, which brings new advanced insight. I expect in the years to come, we have interesting social impact projects in which Michael and I team up with like-minded professionals. He is a living and working exponential individual. Next, we have from Daya. Michael is experienced in the startup world and moving in teams from ideas to execution and then to success. He is a real team player with the ability to inspire and facilitate team processes. As part of the OpenExO coach certification program, he proved to be a really successful in the coach role too. I'm sure you'll enjoy his energy and style during this conversation. Next from Rajiv, Michael has the rare ability to be objective and empathetic at the same time. An engineer by training, he goes beyond the technical expertise to see how we can use technology for the well-being of people, well demonstrated in his passion for universal basic income, UBI. At the same time, it does not stop Michael from being objective when needed. Anytime the team was stuck, he would step up by either asking insightful questions or providing key inputs to get the team moving towards the objective with a clear, focused outcome. And then lastly, from Magdalena, Michael is a brilliant and very talented human being, a well-seasoned business coach with an exponential mindset, a writer and a true thought leader. Michael has the intelligence and imagination to create brilliance. It is incredibly inspiring to work with him, especially when his brain diverges and he lets his imagination flow. This is the moment when he usually leaves you in awe. Michael is a virtuoso in coaching. He would filter through the noise of your business ideas and point out the most crucial aspects you need to work on to make it a success. Michael clearly has a growth mindset. His personal story is remarkable and shows how he has transformed along the journey of becoming the person he is today. So with that, I am going to welcome up Michael onto the screen. Michael, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure. And so I always start by asking the person that I'm speaking to give us a little bit of background about yourself up until how you actually came to join the community. What's the story?
Yeah, thank you so much. By the way, I am beaming with smiles here because the energy I feel from the comments you read from my colleagues is that was constant. Imagine that being constant throughout our certification program. That energy, everybody recognizing the worth of the next person and intelligent and collectively, supporting each other. Those words were very specific and very direct to to the contributions we all brought to the table. You know, people recognizing your words and your skills. It was really a time of refreshing, and it's kind of imprinted a definite understanding of your worth through that process. Yeah, how I came to EXO, that story, I think a bit of background. I was born dyslexic and I didn't know, you know. So you would grow up thinking you were a slow learner or stuff like that. And in Nigeria, that wasn't easily diagnosable, at least in the community where I grew up. I was fortunate to stumble upon a psychology textbook in the school library when I was in secondary school. And then I also found out that I also had ADH. You know, uh, we were opportune to get a voluntary service. It's a voluntary service organizations used to send teachers to Nigeria, to our school particularly. It was a private school. And this teacher from the UK took me aside and found out I was dyslexic. He had the skills. He had had some work with special needs kids. And then he took me aside and taught me physics and chemistry. And in record time, we covered the curriculum. And that began my journey of understanding that there was nothing I couldn't learn. And I began to crave for knowledge. You know, I'll go into the school library and read everything but my school books. You know, open a full encyclopedia and go from cover to cover, which is, and because he taught me how to learn, and that carried on into my life as a network engineer, Cisco engineer, server engineer, VSAT engineer, which I did for about 12 years. But along the way, this is starting from like 2000, but along the way, I discovered that every time I went into an organization, I was employed by a new employer, they would rather leverage my business management skills, my business development skills, and my leadership skills. I'll be told to lead the engineering team, and I will not see any field work for like a month. I'll be told to do business development for a new product that I was going to market, and I'll have to come up with the marketing strategy and all that, you know. And it was in the midst of all this that I began to gravitate away from engineering. I even went into software engineering, you know, coding and things like that. But I began to gravitate away from that because the task of solving challenges appealed to me more than computers and information technology, which I had a natural aptitude for. I mean, I picked up the CCNA coursework for Cisco and I went through it alone without an instructor. But then business appealed to me more, and I began to learn strategies, gain tools and skills in this area. So, accelerate down my journey to the pandemic, and we're all in lockdown. And I began to take stock of my skill sets, my competencies, and deciding how I was going to reinvent myself. Because now, you know, we had a major economic downturn in the country, in Nigeria, and I had to start thinking about what I was going to do. I have a family, you know, my lovely wife and my 3 kids who I call coup plotters because in the morning they wake up like terrorists. These are the list of our demands. And during the day, they are like coup plotters. They're going around to unseat your government. So I had to find a way to make more money. And it was at that time a neighbor of mine introduced me to a company in Dubai, Global Management Consultants, and they gave me an opportunity to consult for them remotely. So what that entailed was if they had a client who was even looking for market entry into Nigeria, since I had market entry expertise, I'll consult on the project and then I'll get paid for that consultation. So, and they would then offer trainings and opportunities. And one of the opportunities they gave was that they had an EXO sprint going on in the organization. It was being led by Paul Epping and Tariq at the time. And they gave me this opportunity, you know, to be trained as a consultant in the EXO sprint. And of course, my at the same time, my wife too was working for the organization as a digital marketing consultant. So we're on the sprint together. So you can imagine how our household was that period. so so it opened my mind, Kevin. it was at that moment that I became aware that the roadblocks I experienced when I was trying to solve business challenges was because I lacked the tools to execute those strategies. Now, at the same time, I was also aware that dyslexic thinking, which LinkedIn, by the way, has recognized now, and they put it up as a skill. You could actually click that as your skill. Was one of my skill sets, but I did not know how to leverage it. So EXO methodology kind of just put it on nitrous, and man, I was solving problems for free because it was like finally, caged lion unchained, and he was just going after everything in front of him. And it's really amazing, really amazing. I can't think of business any other way.
That's that's really awesome. And so, I mean, I can't imagine how it must have been having two people in one household on a sprint. Like I don't know who was feeding your children, but now, since joining the community, obviously, massive transformative purpose is so important, in the EXO methodology. Can you share, tell us about your MTP?
Yes. There are a lot of great ideas coming up in Nigeria. I'm sure being in the EXO community, you are probably even more aware of that than me, because I know OpenExO watches these metrics, upcoming startups, businesses that are doing well, disrupting industries and things like that. But you see, one major problem with businesses in Nigeria is there's this great idea, but then they become a legacy organization as they grow big, strong, and they can't stand the test of time. And then the power or the potential of the organization begins to trickle down as the founder ages, because they operate a very hierarchical system of leadership. And you'll see thriving business initiative, but going nowhere. And ever since I was a child, I would lay down on my bed and be thinking about how to solve problems, the challenges I face in society. I'll be thinking of inventive ways to create business, and then how that business will sustain itself. Because I'm the sort of person that doesn't like to manage stuff 100%. I just want to build it well enough for it to run itself, and the people who are involved to do their jobs, and everybody just does the job. I don't have to pay attention to it. So this is why coming to OpenExO now gave me the tools and the skills to really do this. And the massive transformative purpose is the most important attribute that I use personally and in my consulting business. In fact, when I go to a client, if it's an existing organization, the first conversation I want to have with you is, okay, so what are we about? And then the minute you start asking these questions, I am so pleased that so far I have not had any rejection with, the process of onboarding a massive transformative purpose for any organization. They see why immediately, because they get why this is important the minute you start to talk about it and you explain the process. So for me, with every experience I've had in my life, business, professionally, my massive transformative purpose came down to leveraging technological advantage to create sustainable abundance. Because when I look back, the process of generating your massive transformative purpose is actually, in OpenExO, is the definite process. And so when I look back at my experiences and took account of my competencies and what I'm drawn to, this was what mattered to me. That first, you don't have to build technology if it exists. All the problems in Nigeria, the technologies to solve them have already been created. So I am not dealing with a technology problem here. I'm dealing with business cases, business challenges. So we leverage these technologies, the technological advantage, because some technology is not advantageous, some is advantageous, and then to create sustainable abundance. Because when you are entering a market, like when you are carving out a market niche in Nigeria, because of the population, and if you do your process properly, you will have a massive market share. So how do you make that abundance sustainable? This is what I'm all about. For instance, I engaged with a startup that is about to launch in a couple of weeks' time. And the first thing I did was I told them the particular customer they were looking at wasn't their customer segment. And I pointed to them why this was so. Because you see, I told them if you were going to extract value from this customer segment, it's going to take you a long time to get to market and then to see any tangible growth or to be able to scale this business. Meanwhile, this particular segment that you consider to be your key partners are actually your customer segment. So we had to transpose, and immediately it just became obvious to this client that what have we been thinking? Why have we been thinking about it that long? That thinking about it that way have been giving him sleepless nights about execution, because now you have to do a lot of marketing to get to that customer. You have to convince that customer to onboard. But now with this key partner is already in the market. They know that this solution is going to solve all their problems. So they are willing to adopt the technology and pay you for it. So you see, this is where sustainable abundance is very important to me.
Awesome. That's really awesome. So having gone through the a sprint and a few of the certification programs and being a part of the community, what would you really say are the sort of the learnings that you've experienced? It hasn't been such a long time.
Yes.
In the short time.
Yes. When actually my learnings have now become kind of my two-line pitch when I'm talking to a prospective client. I say you, because immediately clients in Nigeria have become very skeptical, because people take them, they get people and they pay them to do their job, and then they can't execute. Now, one thing OpenExO has done for me is I am able to tell my client that I can take an idea, no matter how vague it is, and create a thriving business initiative from it. Because with the EXO attributes, you can. If you're willing to put in the work, give it some thought, form a team around the process, you can build something spectacular out of any vague idea. I mean, you just name it. I've thought through the process, and this is the major learning for me. My challenge in business in the past had been, I'm sure you've been there in your consulting business, Kevin, waking up in the middle of the night, drinking coffee, burning the night out, just because you want to deliver value to this client and solve their business challenge. But now there are definite steps. There's a mindset you carry to it. And if you are not getting the results you need, all you have to do is change perspectives using the tools that the consultancy certification and now the coach certification, most importantly, the coach certification, because all my life I've been a consultant, and you know how exhausting that can be. But when you become a coach, you are handed down a different set of tools. You now know how to make everybody effective in their role. You know how to give them the skill sets they require. And if somebody needs upskilling, you know what exactly it is they need to upskill in to get to where you want them to be. And the coach certification was the best decision of my life. When I got that email, it was like sent from God, to take the opportunity and do the certification. And when I got into it, every day I would say to Coach Dia, who was my coach in the coach certification, I was like, I don't see how I would have been able to evolve in my practice if I had not done this. Yeah.
That's really awesome to hear. Now, if we look from a Nigerian perspective, right? What would you say are the sort of major benefits that the Nigerian business environment can get from the EXO methodology?
Yes, thank you so much. I did not elaborate on that before. Just like I said before, quote unquote business development consultants are brilliant in designing a business plan for you, but then they walk away. Well, that's what I've experienced. I'm not saying all of them are, but that's what I've experienced working with the clients I'm working with. I get to them and they are complaining about how they paid this person a ton of money, and all they have is just these documents, business plan, this, that, and there's no strategy for execution. Even when they say there's a strategy for execution, you find out it's a marketing plan. Now, when we start our work together, they realize that there is a definite methodology using the EXO attributes. By the time I start to explain to them, they see that even within the attributes, their go-to-market strategy is hinged on the attributes. We start with the MTP. We create this vision, and then we align the entire team. And that was one beautiful thing the coach certification did to me. You know that team alignment that happens in week 0. I now insist on it when I'm working with teams. I do that alignment. First thing, once we develop the MTP, we align everybody to that, and then the work is easy from then on. And guess what? I get back to the office, to my client's office the next week, and those guys have accelerated further than I'd given them knowledge for. And I'm like, you guys are about to put me out of a job here, But I'm so happy because it means I'm doing something right. So what the Nigerian business environment will benefit from EXO methodologies is how to take business ideas from just planning through the phase of idea planning and then execution. That's where the business is. Until you execute, you don't even know if you have anything there. And EXO attributes, we just, it's like what Salim always says: if you are a legacy organization and you're not implementing 4 of the attributes, you're already failing. And if you're a startup and you cannot find where to use 8 attributes, forget about it. You are most likely going to land in that 95% that don't succeed. So that is what Nigeria will benefit from it: execution, and also how to scale businesses so that a lot of the problems, business challenges, can be solved by Nigerian business people who are brilliant, by the way. I am meeting some really gifted people. Somebody who is a gifted engineer and at the same time a gifted business person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you do quite a lot of work in the startup space, right? And so
yes, I do.
What's been the one of the biggest challenges around implementing EXO methodologies in that space?
Yes, because Nigeria is relatively young to the startup culture. In fact, Nigeria did not even have any startup legislation up to now. As of 3 years ago, I wanted to register a startup for a client, and when we put forth our company name, which was tied to their MTP and their business model and everything, you know how you develop the name, and the name is everything. It wins the buy-in of the team. And then the commission, which is in charge of this registration, told us that name is not permitted. And I was like, what? This is the 21st century. What do you mean that name is not permitted? They said, well, it's, these are laws that have been written down. It's policy that this cannot be allowed. And that is not their fault. It is because there is no startup legislature to override that. But now the beautiful thing that's happened now with the successes of, what you call them, giants, unicorn companies that are coming up in Nigeria, is that the policymakers are beginning to say, you know what, we need a startup legislature, because many of these startups are going to have to register in the US and in the UK in order to be able to fall within that gray line that protects them from legal impediments in our constitution. Yeah. So now the federal government has just forwarded the startup bill to the National Assembly for approval. An interesting thing that is happening now is that the city I'm currently residing in, Kaduna City, which is also part of Kaduna State, the state administration has now mandated the creation of a startup bill. And they are not just doing it independently. They are running it with startup corporations, people in the startup tech space, to ask them, what do you want? What can we do for you? And this is a massively interesting event, because it's not normal for this to happen in Nigeria. But you have policymakers, the government, the administrative government saying, okay, how do we make this work? You people know this thing better than we do. How do we make it work? And then the governor is saying, look, I want this startup bill up and running post haste. What that means is that with the extent to which emerging technologies are entering Nigeria and the amount of talent that is residing in Nigeria, we are about to see an explosion of abundance, as we will say in OpenExO, in Nigeria, in that space. And that I just can't wait to see that. I'm so optimistic about the future.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think the entire African continent, there's so much opportunity. Perhaps the two of us are biased, having grown up here, but yeah, I mean, having had the opportunity to travel around a lot, there really is so much opportunity. Now, as I said to you before we were on the show, the time is going to disappear, and so it's come to an end. Really great chatting to you. We haven't had a conversation like this ever, actually, and I guess we know about each other in the community, but not necessarily have a conversation like this. So for those of you who are watching, this was just an initial discussion, initial chat. Hopefully we get to chat some more. But what is that one thing that you want to sort of leave with the people who are watching, either now or those people who are watching the recording? What is that one thing you want to leave with them as we end off the call today?
Yes, one thing I would like to leave is something that has become constant in my consciousness. My colleague and now very good friend, Magdalena, who I did the coach certification with, went on vacation, and then she was telling me of this situation where she had to overcome one of her fears. And she said, and now she calls it baseless fear because it was completely baseless. She didn't know why she had it. And then she just told herself, you know what, this thing has been hanging over me for such a long time. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And she said it was such a surprising experience to have done that. And she said this quote, she said, on the other side of fear is the life you've always wanted. And it made me pause and think. And that is the way I've lived my entire life, challenging every fear I have. I'm the sort of person that I do not tolerate fear. If you give me a role or a task, I will say yes. You know that thing Richard Branson said, say yes, and then go find out how to do it. That's exactly who I was. I would say yes. And then I looked back when she said that, and I said, if I had not taken those chances and those risks and damned whatever failure was staring me in the face, I would actually not be the person who I am today. And I would not trade that life with anything in the world. I absolutely love my life and the person I've become. So what I'll leave with anyone here is to say, take that risk. Find something to commit yourself to and solve that problem. The problem I'm solving is that there are great gifted people in this country. I am going to do all it takes to make sure that their potential is manifested to solve the problems that Nigeria has. Because in solving those problems, there's great abundance to be had.
Absolutely. Well, Banky, amazing chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll chat again soon.
Definitely. I hope to chat with you again.
Perfect. Cheers. So great chatting to Banky there. And ultimately, what he shared is so true, so important for us all to know, to be sharing out there, to create that better future that as OpenExO community we want. We need people who believe that it's possible. And so, go out there, share with people what is possible. And we're going to end off today's call with a little video about our community all hands, which is happening on Tuesday. It is an all-day event. You can pop in and out whenever you like. We're going to be sharing updates, having community discussions. And so we look forward to seeing you there on Tuesday. And we'll see you again next week, Thursday, for another OpenExO Live. We're looking forward to seeing you at the Community Hall Hands on the 24th of May. It's going to be such a fun time. We're going to be in Sci-topia. This is a world which we've built. We're still currently building. Here's a quick look at it. So far, it's going to be really awesome. You're going to get to chat with fellow community members, Q&As, meet everybody. Maybe you're going to find some time to spend it on the dance floor a little bit. But we're really looking forward to seeing you there. Please register